Alright everyone, so what I want to do in this video is I want to use a technique that is built into Scratch called cloning. And what I'm going to use it to do is I'm going to use it to create multiple objects that are all of the same type on the screen at once. So to get to the real thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a bunch of bats. So when you face the bat, instead of facing a single bat, you're going to face a bunch of bats. And as you get to higher levels, the number of bats that you face is going to increase. But we're going to do this using this technique called cloning. So instead of creating a sprite over and over and over again, one for each bat, I can just go into bat and I can just get the bat code itself to create lots and lots of bats. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So we're going to begin by going to right to the top of the bat code, and it says when I receive start bat, and then it goes to this little piece of code here called start bat, and I'm going to just set that aside. In fact, just throw it away. And what I want to do instead is I want to create a bunch of clones. So over here in these orange blocks, we have create clone of myself. And if I just did this, this would just create one clone. I want to create a bunch. So I want to repeat until and grab an equals. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a number of bats that are equal to the level. So what I want to write here is repeat until the number of bats that we have is equal to the level. So when you first encounter the bat at level 2, you'll get 2 bats. And then I think the bat comes back at what would it be, like level 5 or 6? Well, let's say it's level 6. Then you'll get 6 bats. And then if it comes back at level 10, you'll get 10 bats. So I need something here, a variable that counts the number of bats. So make a variable for all sprites, number of bats. And so we're going to say repeat until number of bats equals level. And we're going to stick that in there, create a clone. And we need to initialize this because Scratch doesn't know. Scratch needs to know at the beginning of each game that this has been reset. So we don't want this number going up and then when you restart the game, it carries on going up from where you left it. We want it to kind of go back to 0 when everything starts. So when I receive start bat, I want the number of bats to begin at 0. So we're going to set number of bats to 0, and then it's going to count them and it's going to create one. Now we've got to remember to do something that says when you create a bat, add 1 to the number of bats. So what I could do is I could stick it in there, change number of bats by 1. So every time it creates a clone, it changes the number of bats by 1. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to get the clone itself to change the number of bats. So we'll do that in a moment. So now the next thing we need to do is when it creates a clone, we need to tell that clone what to do. So we're going to go to the orange bricks, and then we're going to grab when I start as clone. This is going to tell each new clone what to do. And then the stuff that used to be in start bat, we're going to put here. So actually, I'll just grab this later when I pull down. So where are we? Start bat. Here we are. Start bat. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'll replace it with when I start as clone. And this goes into bat setup and bat move. So we'll put those there. Throw that away. And then I think we can just kind of, let's grab this set. Where's bat setup? It's going to be way up here, isn't it? Okay, I think we can probably kind of simplify. I don't know if we need this extra code. So let's just throw that away. So we've got set rotation, start left, right, spawn bat, and bat move. So what I've effectively done is I just took the startup for the bat and I moved it over so that it's now the startup for the clone. So that's quite a simple change, and that's the main change that we have to make. That's pretty much how you create multiple bats. Now, if we try running this right now, we will get multiple bats, but I think we're going to get too many, and that's because we haven't finished what it is that we're trying to do. Now, let's have a look. Okay. So, as you can see, we got lots of bats there, but there were far too many. And the reason is, this says set the number of bats to 0, repeat until the number of bats equals level, but we're not changing this variable, number of bats. Scratch doesn't count the number of bats for you. You have to tell it to do that. So what we're going to do is every time it creates a clone of itself, we're going to add 1 to this tally, and then that will keep track of the number of bats, and then it'll be able to compare that with level, and that should bring the process to a stop. So I'm going to put change number of bats by 1, and I want to do this pretty much straight away as soon as I start as a clone, because this is waiting for it. I don't want to put this down here, because there's a lot involved in spawning a bat, and there's a lot involved in moving a bat. So what I want to do, and so what's going to happen is if we wait for all that, then this is going to carry on creating bats while it's waiting for that number to update, and it'll go out of control again. So you've got to kind of get this in pretty soon, so that it arrives in time to control this process. So hopefully this should work. And there we go. You got 2 bats, which is equal to the number of levels. The level number, which is what we wanted. Now the problem right now is if you hit one of the bats, both of them disappear. And in later levels, if you hit one of the bats, and there's like 10 bats, all 10 of them will disappear. But that's not what we want, so we'll fix that in the next video. Before we get to that, we have one last change that we want to make. So up here, when it's time for the bats to depart the stage, when it's time to move to the next level, a message goes across which says, tell all to disappear. And right now it says, when I receive tell all to disappear, it just tells the bat to hide. Well, we don't want the bat to hide anymore, because there's no such thing as the bat anymore. There's lots of bats. So we need to tell all these clones what to do. And what we really want to do is we want to make all of them disappear. So when all the clones will receive the message, and we'll ask each of the clones to delete itself. And that should clear them off at the end of the level. Okay, so that should be ready to go, and as I say, we've got to fix the problem with killing all the bats all at once, so we will do that in the next level, and I'll see you there. Thank you for listening, and if you find this video useful, please hit like and subscribe.